For 45 years, Captain Charles Robinson had worn the same uniform with pride. He had flown millions of passengers safely across the country, survived countless storms, and trained dozens of young pilots. Now, at 70 years old, today would be his final flight before retirement. His wife had planned a surprise celebration after he landed. His children and grandchildren were already waiting at the airport. Charles smiled as he walked through the employee entrance carrying his worn leather flight bag. Security Officer Emma greeted him. "Good morning, Captain Robinson." "Morning, Emma." Before he reached the TSA checkpoint, a new supervisor stepped forward. His name badge read, Supervisor Brian Cole. "I'll handle this inspection." Charles handed over his airline ID. Brian barely glanced at it. "Where did you get this badge?" Charles frowned. "I've worked for this airline for 45 years. Brian folded his arms. "I'm going to need proof." Charles calmly showed his pilot license, passport, and company credentials. Everything matched. Still, Brian shook his head. "I don't believe you're the captain." Passengers waiting nearby began looking over. One traveler quietly pulled out a phone and started recording. Charles remained calm. "I've flown this route for 20 years. Brian stepped closer. "People like you shouldn't joke about being pilots." The terminal fell silent. Even other TSA officers looked uncomfortable. Brian reached for his radio. "Airport police to checkpoint 3. Charles slowly lowered his eyes. After 4 decades of serving millions of travelers, he was being treated like an imposter. Then, someone important walked into the terminal. Airport police arrived within minutes. Officer Ramirez greeted Charles politely. "Captain Robinson, may I see your credentials?" Charles handed over his airline ID, FAA pilot license, passport, and security badge. Everything was valid. Officer Ramirez looked at Supervisor Cole. "His identification checks out." Cole refused to back down. "I still don't believe he's a captain." Charles sighed. "I've flown for this airline longer than you've worked here." Passengers nearby shook their heads. One flight attendant stepped forward. "I've flown with Captain Robinson dozens of times." Cole ignored her. He could be pretending. The live stream spread rapidly across social media. Thousands watched as one of the country's most respected pilots stood surrounded by airport police. Then the terminal doors opened. A woman in an airline executive uniform walked in with several senior officials. It was Airline CEO Rebecca Lawson. She immediately spotted Charles. "Captain Robinson." She walked straight toward him and hugged him. The entire terminal froze. Then she turned toward Supervisor Cole. "Do you have any idea who you're questioning?" Cole swallowed hard. For the first time, he looked nervous. Rebecca Lawson faced Supervisor Cole. "This man has flown safely for 45 years. She looked around the terminal. "And today is his retirement flight." The crowd fell silent. She asked airport security to review every camera recording from the checkpoint. The footage showed Charles calmly presenting every document while Cole repeatedly ignored them. A TSA officer quietly admitted, "I told him the credentials were valid." Another employee added, "This isn't the first complaint." Within an hour, reporters arrived. Former pilots posted stories online about Captain Robinson mentoring young aviators from every background. The live stream reached millions. Rebecca turned back to Cole. "You questioned his identity because of assumptions, not evidence." Charles spoke softly. "I spent my life proving myself in the cockpit. I shouldn't have to prove I belong in my own uniform." The terminal erupted in applause. Federal aviation officials immediately announced a formal investigation into the checkpoint. Cole realized this wasn't just about one mistake anymore. His career was falling apart. Days later, the investigation concluded. Supervisor Brian Cole was dismissed after investigators found multiple complaints involving discriminatory treatment of travelers and airline employees. The TSA introduced additional bias training and updated verification procedures at the airport. Captain Robinson finally boarded his last flight. This time, every employee in the terminal lined the jet bridge to applaud him. Passengers stood as he entered the cockpit. After landing, Fire trucks welcomed the aircraft with a ceremonial water salute. His wife, children, grandchildren, and dozens of former co-workers waited at the gate. Rebecca Lawson presented Charles with the airline's Lifetime Service Award. "You carried millions of passengers safely, but your greatest legacy is the people you inspired." Charles smiled. "A uniform doesn't make someone honorable. It's how you treat people while wearing it." The crowd rose to its feet. As Captain Charles Robinson removed his pilot's hat for the final time, the applause echoed through the terminal, reminding everyone that respect is earned through character, never judged by appearance.